Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Hamm. I'm a senior writer at Business Week magazine, and also I recently, over the past year and a half, had the pleasure of reporting and writing a book about the rise of the Indian technology industry. And I got to tell you, writing a book about something is a lot more demanding than just writing a few stories about it. So it's been a real pleasure, and I feel like I've learned a lot about India, and I'm going to give you some of my insights today. Some of them are some of them might be seen as a little bit controversial, hopefully, because I and the other panel members have agreed that this is going to be a lot of pep in this panel. There's going to be a lot of divergence of opinion and strong opinions. So the way it's going to run is I'm going to do a little introduction, then each of the panelists will get up and talk about a key topic to them for a few minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A. First I'll ask some questions, but we mainly encourage members of the audience to ask interesting, insightful questions and challenging questions, I would say, would be the most fun. So the first thing I want to say is this is the second time I've ever been at NASSCOM. I was invited to one in 2001 in Mumbai, which was the first time I was ever in India, and I was just learning things from scratch then. But I remember the time well. It was when the .com bust had just happened in India, and the message I heard from so many people I spoke to in Mumbai was, the Indian tech industry, we have this great potential, and we're achieving, we're working hard, and then we get close, and then we don't quite make it. Well, right now, here we are 6 years later, and this is an industry that went from really not being known very well in the outside world 6 years ago to being known all over the place, and to be seen as a power in the tech industry. Now, one thing I wanted to say also is I've been watching the tech industry worldwide for about 20 years now, and one thing I've noticed is that often there are these cycles where industries, a new business model emerges. It's disruptive. It attacks the existing business model. It usually has some strong advantages, either because it's better for the customer or it's cheaper, it's less expensive. And often, so these business models come up, and whole new leaders come in the industry, and then there's a point when the tide turns again. And I've seen this again and again with Compaq. I remember when they said, we're going to be a $40 billion company. And when I heard them say that, I said, boy, that is a company that's going to fail pretty soon. And sure enough, they did. The next company that I saw get very arrogant was Sun Microsystems, and the next one after that was Dell. And it's interesting to think about Dell right now, because here's a company that looked like it had, the world was its oyster. Suddenly its business model isn't working so well anymore. And the reason is because the world changed. While they were busy refining their business model, saying, we got the pattern, we'll just take it and apply it to all these different industries, the world changed. And what happened was the market that they were doing best in, which was large corporations in America, suddenly became the slowest growth market in the PC industry. And suddenly they're in the wrong place. And I think an important thing for people in the Indian industry, I don't think this is a complacent bunch, and I don't really think it's an arrogant bunch. But there's always the danger of deciding, this business model is the one that's going to succeed. We just got to keep hammering at it, keep our noses down and do it. But the warning I would give is that there might be something around the corner that is going to be more successful than your model, and you want to get to that point before somebody else does, or realize it and get there. So it's my pleasure to lead this panel. It's just a great moment for the industry. Obviously, the Indian tech services industry has clearly emerged not just as a disruptor of the global tech industry, but indeed as a major power center. At this point, it can be said of any sizable global IT services company in the world that if they don't have a significant presence in India, they're not going to be able to be competitive. It also became clear last year that the top Indian IT services companies are now capable of competing head-to-head with the largest global services outfits. They started taking on kind of the prime contractor position in major global deals. So we're going to talk in this panel about the state of play in the industry, and we're going to look ahead at how things are shifting. Now, the title of the panel includes what's happening in 2008. I frankly hope we can guess right about 2007, but we'll see how far ahead we can see and how well we can see around corners. So I and the other panelists will do our best. Now, just a quick introduction of panelists. We'll start Alistair Cox, CEO of Zansa. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Very good. So this is a UK-based company that has 5,000 of its 9,000 employees in India, clearly offshore-oriented, relatively early to recognize that as an important business model. And we'll be talking to him in a couple of minutes. Then there's Rajendra Pawar of NIIT, and this is not one of the large 5 Indian firms, but a very successful one with a large international footprint. See, 18 IT services in 18 countries around the world, learning services in 30, a strong focus on verticals that has the company growing even faster than the top industry companies. We've got Vineet Nayar, president of HCL Technologies. Among other things, this is one of the leaders in engineering R&D outsourcing, which has been declared by NASSCOM to be a hot spot for future growth for the industry, and I agree with that. And then there's Pramod Basan, CEO of Genpact, who pioneered business process outsourcing in India with GE and now leads the country's largest BPO firm. And finally, Dennis McGuire, co-founder and chairman of TPI, the Texas firm that is a power broker in the world of outsourcing. Is Texas right? Yes, Texas right. Yeah, and power broker right. And his company's advice to corporate clients about selecting outsourcing providers carries a tremendous amount of weight. All right, so little slide. I mean, I just think it's incredible to look and see how far this industry has come just in the past couple of years. Nearly 300% growth in IT and related services in 5 years. And what makes this growth rate even more remarkable is the fact that the industry is now confronting the law of large numbers. And you think, oh, it's got to slow down. Yet we see some of the companies, even some of the largest companies, actually accelerating their revenue growth right now. Another factor out there in the market is the slowdown in demand for outsourcing services worldwide. And I'm going to quote from you. Hopefully I won't steal any of your thunder in your stats, but TPI's quarterly index released January 11 showed that the last quarter was the worst quarter in 5 years in terms of the growth of outsourcing contracts awarded. And yet, the Indian industry continues to grow at an impressive clip in spite of that. Part of the explanation is the industry keeps adding new services. Another element is that the growth in the industry is in offshoring and in smaller contracts, and these are areas where the Indian companies excel. A year and a half ago, when I began working on my book, Bangalore Tiger, I was like a lot of people. I thought that labor arbitrage pretty much summed up what India and India's tech industry was about. But as I dug deeper into the topic, it became clear that the recipe was a lot more complicated than that, and therefore that the Indian industry's success wasn't as vulnerable to cheap labor in other countries as some people might think. And there's the talk of, oh, you're just going to have cheap labor in the next country, and that'll be the place where the action is. I think that is not the answer. The essential ingredients that I've seen, and let's see, here we go. Here's the success.